Hey guys, Bryan here from Liquid Concepts. So today we're going to talk about something a little bit different than our normal how-to videos. And what we wanted to touch on today is mainly going to be our tanks that we actually sell. So what you see behind me, which is what you've seen in all of our videos that we have pretty much posted throughout the entire time on YouTube, is of course our tanks that we build. Now, this tank in particular is the exact same design as what we now sell as our Aqua Maxx tanks. And so we thought we'd wanted to do a review on the tank and of course show you some things about it and things like that. Now, the kicker about this is that this is actually going to be a full 10-year review. So yes, you've heard it right. 10 years I have had this exact same tank. Now, maybe a different control panel because of different additions and things like that, but overall, 10 years, what have I thought about it? What has possibly gone wrong with it? And of course, you know, is there anything new with the newer models or anything like that? So we're gonna try to touch and cover a lot of that. And so in one of these videos like this, I'm probably going to be talking a lot more. So if you don't like a lot of the talking videos, I'm sorry, this video is probably not for you, but if you are interested in a very high quality tank, something that you're going to buy one time and it's going to last you almost a lifetime, then this may be the one that you want to get. So let's talk a little bit about the tank itself. So of course, number one is the tank is all stainless steel. Everything that we're gonna build, it's all going to be stainless. If we're working with water, then it has to be stainless. So you're getting stainless dividers, stainless body, and everything that is on the tank itself is going to, of course, be stainless. Now, it's going to be a high-grade stainless. We're going to get about a 304 stainless on that. And, of course, all the sides, everything is fully TIG welded. So that way, everything looks really good, presentable, and you should have no issues with it down the road. So, looking at this, 10 years later, what do I think and how do I feel like it compares to a lot of the other tanks? So, of course, I do not have a tank to compare it to, so I'm probably going to be a little bit biased on that, and I'll just say that right up front. Now, I feel like that this tank has done really well for me. Apart from we changed the control panel to a little bit different control panel, mainly because of some of the additions that we did with the arm and things like that. It's been a great tank. And so that's another reason why we have actually kept almost the exact same design from whenever we started building these 10 years ago all the way until now. And so we feel like this design is a great design. It is very robust. We have pretty much over-engineered every single thing about it, and that's one thing that I definitely really like. And so a couple of things to look at too is that whenever we moved this, of course we had to move it from the outside of this room right here because we built all this in, and then we had to bring it all in. And so one of the nice thing is that with something like this right here, we've built it two different ways. Number one, of course, we have our leveling feet. And so the leveling feet is of course going to be able to hold the tank, and the feet are actually rated for the water that it's going to hold. So if you do have this up and you need to adjust it, say your spray bar is spraying a little bit differently, you need to raise this up or turn this way or that way, you have full control and ability to pretty much have the casters themselves completely off the ground, not going to hurt anything with the tank itself. Another option that we do offer on every one of the Max tanks that we have is that mainly the fact of the casters themselves can actually still hold the weight of the water, and you're not going to have any issues down the road with anything as far as the weight of the water is breaking the casters, anything like that. So whether you have it up on blocks on the leveling feet itself, or you have it possibly just sitting on the casters, maybe on a concrete floor. Either way, you're gonna be completely covered because they will all hold the weight of the water. So another nice thing that we have is of course our filter tray. Filter tray is simple, it's easy, it holds the filters, and then we've got two nice little grab handles right there, so that way whenever we are needing to lift it up, out, or change the filter, anything like that, it's an easy grab, pick it up. They're fully welded on, so we don't have to worry about anything, as well as, of course, all stainless, so you don't have to worry about anything rusting. Now, another thing that I do like is that because everything is stainless right here, you can clearly see this tank right here, it needs to be cleaned. It's very dirty. And so the one thing is that what I like to do is sometimes we may need to take lacquer thinner or acetone or even activator and clean the tank. So I don't have to worry about all those harsh chemicals, anything like that on trying to clean it or damaging the tank or anything like that, mainly because, of course, with stainless, you don't have to worry about it. It's not going to affect it nor hurt it. So let's talk a little bit about the tank itself and the operations of it. So a lot of you may not know this, but this tank actually never gets turned off. I have had this thing on for pretty much going on strong for 10 years, and we have not had an issue with it. Now, of course, as you can clearly see, as I was saying before, we have changed out control panels. We've added parts and things to this, and so of course that has needed us to change a few things, but pretty much other than draining it, cleaning it, and filling it back up, that is the only time that we ever turn this thing off. And so whenever we sell one of these tanks like this, it's definitely imperative that it can always stay on 24/7 if needed. And so with something like this right here, that's why we designed these tanks, the components that are with them, as well as even the electronics themselves, to hopefully last much longer than the warranty that comes with it, as well as making sure that they can stay on 24/7 and you are completely fine. Now, inevitably, we're talking about electronics, we're talking about circuit breakers and relays and contactors and all those different things. Inevitably, their electronics, something is probably going to happen. Now, am I going to say that we have never had anything happen to anything in this control panel or any control panel? No, I am not. Nobody can ever say that, because electronics can fail at the drop of a hat. They can become DOA right whenever you get them, but simple, easy. We keep them all in stock, so that way, if anything ever does happen like that, you're up and running. But I do have to say, with us having this thing on for 10 years straight, I am very confident in the fact that we can offer a full 5-year warranty with all of our control panels, as well as the components that are on the actual tank itself. So we're talking heating elements, we're talking pumps, we're talking anything that's in the control panel, your switches, your buzzers, your timers, PID controllers, anything like that. They're all going to be covered. And so whenever you have a business and you need to just hit the ground running, get started, and not have to worry about downtime, anything like that, that's where this tank really shines. And so a couple of other things I wanted to touch on real quick. A lot of tanks, pretty much every tank that you'll see, is always going to have heating elements in them. They're always going to have pumps in them, because inevitably we need to pump and move and get clean water on the surface, as well as we need to keep it at a constant temperature. So the one thing that I can confidently say, especially with this tank, as well as all the other tanks that I have even sold in this model, is that to this day, as we are filming this, we have never actually replaced a heating element due to it going bad. Now, we have replaced a heating element because of a fault of the customer, but because of the way that we build our heating elements and everything like that, they have never went out. And so it's the same way with our pumps. We have had little to no failures with the pumps themselves. Now, has a customer gotten something stuck in the pump and messed it up? Yes, definitely. But I am actually on, in this case right here, the exact same pump that I started with whenever this tank was built from the factory, which is of course us. So as you have probably seen in a lot of our videos, as well as the hundreds of thousands of parts that we have done over and over and over, it just keeps running, it keeps moving, it keeps working. And that's exactly what we try to build whenever we're building any of these tanks, is that we go ahead and we put the more expensive stuff in there, but you're gonna make sure that you're going to make it last for years and years down the road. And that's also why we're very confident in the fact that we can actually offer a full 5-year warranty, which at this point right here, we have researched it, and from what we can find, that is actually the longest warranty period that you're ever going to get with a tank to date. And that's gonna be from almost any company that we have researched. So the pump itself, have I got some pieces of tape in it or something like that and it didn't work? Yes. Had to tear it apart, pull the housing out, of course, fix it, we're good to go. Heating elements. Now, heating elements themselves, they turn on, they turn off automatically. Everything's controlled with a control panel, so of course everything is always on and off all the time. 24/7, 365, we're gone for a whole week, or the shop is shut down or anything like that over the weekend, the panel always stays on, the tank always stays on, everything is always running. So with this right here, as long as we're making sure that we have plenty of water in both areas, then we're not going to have any issues come Monday morning whenever we're ready to walk in here and start dipping 100 pieces and we need them done by lunchtime or even sooner. So with something like that right there, I know that I can have the confidence to make sure that this tank is always up, it's always running, and it's always going to stay where it needs to be. Now, a couple of things to look at on, especially like for our parts and our heating elements. You'll see that this is actually one of our heating elements that we use. And I'm not gonna lie, this is a humongous heating element for this tank. Now, if you go to Home Depot and you can clearly and easily buy a 3 kilowatt, 4 kilowatt heating element, and definitely that heating element is probably gonna only be about this big right here. And with something like that right there, it's going to burn out a lot quicker. And so we have actually designed these heating elements with the point of they have a much lower heating ratio, so that way whenever you heat up all of this surface area, they don't burn out. And so I'm not gonna say that they will never burn out, because I'm not gonna say that, but we have never had one of these go out, especially in this tank right here, and we're going on 10 years. This tank actually has 3 heating elements. Whenever we was first building these, we put 3 of these heating elements in this tank, and to the date right now, we've never had to change one. We've never had any problems with them. Every time they kick on, they heat up. Every time they kick off, they shut off. And so the quality and the build of these is just astronomically better compared to what you can find at Home Depot. Now, in saying that, Home Depot heating element may be $20 to $50 versus a heating element of this caliber may be $300 or $500 or something of that nature. And so with something like this, you're mainly paying for the quality and the longevity, because we feel like if you're going to be buying this tank, you are going to be needing it to be up and running 24/7, ready at a moment's notice, and little to no downtime. So that's one of the reasons why we put so much engineering in these heating elements, in the components that we use, and everything like that, to make sure that whenever you are in your business, you don't have to worry about the machines that make you money, you have to worry about other things. So that's also going to be the exact same way with our pumps. Our pumps are going to be made a lot better quality. They're actually a magnetic drive. So whereas most of the time in most every pump that's out there, you have an actual shaft that is connected to an impeller, and it spins the impeller to push the pumps. Push the water, I'm sorry. And so with something like this, with a magnetic drive, there's actually a physical magnet that is turning, but there is nothing in between the impeller to the magnet. So it makes it a lot better to where, let's say that for whatever reason, you're running your pump and it sucks it dry. In most cases, like 90% of every pump, if you run it dry, you're gonna start burning the bearings up, you're gonna burn the seals up, you're going to pretty much destroy the pump because it's not going to run right. In this right here, we're talking ceramic bearings. We're talking full dry run capabilities of dry run for days, not just like a few minutes, but days on end. So let's be honest, if you have that and it's not pumping out right here, you're not going to damage it just by seeing that it's not pumping. Maybe it's dry, it sucked everything out, and you shut it off. So there's a lot more engineering involved in whenever we look at these tanks like this to make sure that everything is set up for almost any case scenario, especially whenever you are looking at purchasing a tank of this caliber. So in that case right there, it's also going to be a lot more energy efficient. Now, again, it is a small pump, so we're not saving a lot of energy, but over time, as I am always turning that on and off every time, you're going to start seeing a lot more of those savings, especially if you're using a bigger pump. Because let's be honest, I can make that small pump run more efficiently and still produce the same amount of GPM and all of that, just like it will if you bought a simple Home Depot pump or a very cheap pump off of Amazon or something like that. Now, in that case, are those pumps still good? Yes, they still are. But in our case, we want to make sure that you don't have any problems. And so that's why with the pump that we use and the testing that we've had and everything like that, that's the main reason why we still use those exact same pumps today as we were using 10 years ago in this exact same model. So with something like that, you can definitely be rest assured that the pump, the components, the heating elements, everything like that is going to last, it's going to work, and you just don't have any problems out of it. And that's the main reason why we wanted to build a lot of these tanks. And of course, let's not forget, all of our Aqua Maxx series tanks are all built in the United States. So we actually manufacture them here locally, so that way everything is completely made to order, one off. If you want a certain size, you want a certain way, certain setup, certain drains, anything like that, it's all customizable to exactly what you want. So you do get a lot more value in knowing that whenever you buy these the one time, they are going to be pretty much the last tank that you're probably ever going to buy, other than if you need a larger tank. So another thing I definitely want to touch on is going to be our divider system. So our divider system is of course custom built for every tank, and it makes it really nice because we do have a lot more notches than what a lot of companies do offer. So that means that now you're actually able to contain the film a lot better. You don't have to waste a lot more film whenever you're laying it down in the water, as well as you can adjust a lot more for each dip. And so of course the other thing is that these are going to be a lot nicer to hold. They're all welded together and they sit very nice either up here just like that, or you can drop them in very easily and they're easy to pick right back up, set down on it, and you're good to go. Of course the spray bar, again, all stainless steel. We're not skimping on that whatsoever. And then we also do have, which you cannot see it on this, but we do have ball valves in there in case you ever needed to flush it out, something got in there, anything like that. We've tried to really over-engineer a lot of these tanks. And for a lot of the customers just starting out or a DIY, this tank may not be for you, but for somebody wanting to start a business, get into it, and know that they have the quality and they have the reliability and the longevity of the tank itself, this is definitely one of the tanks that you definitely need to look at. So let's talk about conclusion. So Inevitably, I am of course going to be a little biased because we build the tank and we of course service it and everything like that. Now, am I gonna say that I am the best person on doing my maintenance and my service and all of that? No, because inevitably the business gets busy, everybody gets busy. Maybe we don't drain this for the time that we need to and we extend it out or something like that. And so inevitably things happen. And so that's kind of why we build these tanks the way that we do, because we want to make sure that they are always going to last. They're always going to have dependability and longevity throughout the entire life. So of course, that's also why for us, whenever we are building these here in America, we can actually offer a full lifetime warranty on the structure of the tank. So if a weld breaks or if something happens to the structure, the actual metal itself, we are going to fully cover it. And so that's how confident we are in our tanks themselves. And I can clearly see why we would do that, considering this is a 10-year-old tank. We have moved this thing numerous times from one shop to another, to storage and back and things like that, moving it around, and it is still working. I have never had a leak in this thing. I have never had any problems with it, and it's just ran and it's worked. And so, yes, maybe it might not be as fancy or it might not have all the bells and whistles of some of the other ones, but for something that works and for something that's reliable and dependable, it definitely gets my vote on that. So looking at the tanks themselves, is there anything different from the brand new ones that we would sell today versus this one right here that we sold 10 years ago? And the answer is no. We are still using the same heating elements, the same pumps. The only thing that may be different is we've got a little bit better design on our reservoir area, but other than that, that is completely the same all the way through. So we feel like we've got a very good quality tank that has, in this case, stood the test of time to show how it works using it every single day. So if you have followed along throughout the entire video, I definitely appreciate it. Again, I'm sorry it's more of a talking video on this one, but you know, we wanted to mainly showcase the point of how reliable and how we feel like our tanks are built and possibly built better than some of the others. And we also wanted to give an honest opinion on a real world situation of this tank has been in service 24/7 for over 10 years. And so, of course, with a 10-year review like this, you can clearly see why we chose something like this. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them below. We'd love to hear from you, especially about the tank itself. And of course, if you would change anything or you see anything different, definitely let us know. We'd always love to hear from you on those things. Also, if you're interested in the tanks themselves, we're gonna have a link in the description below, so that way you can check them out on the website, as well as definitely browse the website for anything that you need for the Hydrographics, from activator to film to training, and of course tanks like this. If you haven't already, definitely hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you subscribe to our weekly tips and tricks on anything Hydrographics related. I'm Bryan from Liquid Concepts, and this is how we customize your world. We'll see you guys next time.